What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more acid techno, back to redo a reaction I did on my old channel, but for a number of reasons I wanted to redo it here. Number one, I keep mentioning, my old videos got compressed. This is such a great tune, I think it deserves the fullest audio quality possible, given the, I make MP4s, so it's not 320, it's 256, but my old videos were compressed to 128 kps, and that's just not good enough for a tune this big. I mentioned it also when I've reacted to other Skankadelic tunes, which I do have at least a few Skankadelic reactions here on my new channel, because I know I redid a couple already. This is a label that came around, I think it's between 2003 and 2005, run by Gavin Butler, a DJ who had been playing at a club called Skankadelic, I believe in Banbury. And he teamed up with Guy McGaffer, and they made most of the releases on this label, although there are some guests along the way, like Chris Liberator, we're going to hear here, but also Aaron Liberator on another release. And I would say a lot of the releases do have that sound that I've called sort of the middle geezer sound, which is to say, just maybe it's in my own brain, but a lot of Geezer's tunes, I hear sort of three phases, that sort of mid to late 90s phase, like Organ Grinder and Stay Up Forever and so on, which had this kind of wild, bubbly acid, and then there's this sort of middle period, which to me is sort of like the aughties, the like early 2000s to right around 2008, 2009, and during this period, the kick drums are a little bigger and heavier, the acid is kind of more in what I've called like this transformer sort of sound. And yeah, long sort of intros and outros, very like techno heavy, but with rich, again, sort of transformer acid. So yeah, that's sort of the sound of the label. We're going to listen to a tune that is Mr. Burns, The Geezer, and Chris Liberator. Both tunes on this record are. I reacted to both of them on my old channel, but again, these are both just absolute killers, so we're going to redo them both. This is one of the few labels where, this is a sleeve that was unrelated, but I mentioned it before, if I have a really prized record and the sleeve isn't in the greatest shape, I'll swap it out with a sleeve that's in much better condition. So here we go. This is a tune called Nice Acid. It very much displays the Skankadelic sort of formula, which is, again, the sort of sonics that I mentioned, in addition to often right before the proper outro, there'll be this kind of what I've called an acid ride-out, which is like a real sort of acid flare-up that in many ways does what the acid has been doing for most of the tune, but in a more sort of like hyper-focused and kind of like wicked, like flourish or embellishment kind of style. So again, a lot of Skankadelic tunes have an acid ride-out, and this is a great example. So here we go, Mr. Burns, Chris Liberator, and The Geezer. This is Nice Acid, and just as a quick mention, on my Discogs review, I said this tune has sort of acid attitude, almost like it's an acid techno tune that you'd hear in a Quentin Tarantino film. A bit abstract maybe, but I stand by that. Again, listen to that kick, like thick and chunky, right? That's sort of, again, maybe it's in my own brain, maybe even the producer himself wouldn't quite hear it the same way, but I think one of the distinguishing features of this sort of middle phase in Geezer's techno and acid techno evolution is these big sort of like plodding, thumping kick drums. A new kind of rattly percussive layer. As I said, Skankadelic tunes, and a lot of Geezer's tunes, including some others on Wah Wah and so on during this period, they have these long kind of techno-heavy intros and outros. Very DJ friendly, it is absolutely fair to say. Big clap. Very echoic. Just about on the edge of redlining. You can hear that acid attitude rolling in. Double time cymbal is nice. Wait for it. kind of heard a tease of it there. There's like this washed out, maybe it's a scream, maybe it's just a frantic synth, but it's like... Ugh, I love that. So much acid. And again, this kind of has this like... It's got some attitude, it's got some menace. It's like, you know, Samuel L. and Travolta rolling around in Pulp Fiction in the car or something, but with acid techno. Acid, like, sort of heavier transformer layer taking over, or adding on top. And get another one of those washed out scream synth end to measure flourishes. Not yet. My mistake. But listen to that deep acid layer now. Transformer layer still doing work though. I think the washed out scream comes in like amid everything else. Ugh. It's like that washed out dissonant, you know, quasi vocal. And now this just chirping frantic acid line. But the deep one too. The season with an acid bass. Great sort of suck the air out of the room and sort of austere build coming. Austere like roll drop. And of course, you know, it has to be said, the phrase nice acid, it's cheeky, we'll say that, right? Nice. Egging for a sample right here though, I have to say. Wicked. Reminds me a little bit of Impact, a tune that Chris and Sterling made 5-6 years after this on Wall Wall. It has a real like hang in the air like moment before it drops, where it actually says, when is it going to hit? That washed out vocal synth is about to come back in the background. And then after maybe a 64, maybe a 128 of that, you're gonna get my acid ride out, man. In section, like rebuild, reconfigure. Now the acid transformer's burning hot again. That super fast, aggressive acid line. Brilliant. And it's going to lead the charge in the acid ride out. There's that washed out vocal-ish synth in there. Oh my god, acid ride out incoming. It's just like, it just puts a spotlight on the acid, and it just burns as hot and hard as it has at any point in the track. That is the Skankadelic acid ride out. Just a little like, you know, coup de grace before going out the door. That, again, that chunky techno sound. Stripped down techno heavy outro, as Skankadelic as Skankadelic can be. Brilliant. Shout out to Mr. Burns, who after this label, and he had a sort of, sub-label called Blipped, which is basically the same kind of sound, but a little more techno-heavy, not quite as much acid, even if some tunes on the Blipped catalog do have acid. But he sort of vanished after that, moved on to other things. Thankfully, the geezer is still producing. But yeah, shout out to Gavin Butler, shout out to Guy, of course. Shout out to Chris. It's no surprise to me that adding Chris Liberator to an already potent duo that was producing acid techno bangers at the time made perhaps my favorite release. I mentioned on Discogs, there's not a bad pick in the bunch for Skankadelic. The 8 might be the weakest link, but even then it has a tune called When Push Comes to Shove on it, and I really love that tune. But number 6 here might be my favorite. Both sides are great. I will come back and react to the other side, which is called Raptor, and which has many stylistic similarities. Again, it sort of fits the general Skankadelic mold, but it's a darker tune. It's a heavier, acid tune. So yeah, we'll come back for that one. Let me know what you think. Thank you for listening and watching. I do appreciate it. Have a good day, have a good night, and I'll see you next time. Peace.